News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. Today it was Canada's turn. Counter-tariffs to match Donald Trump's tariffs, dollar for dollar, to go into effect September the 8th. They will apply to more than 700 American imports, among them smartphones, kitchen appliances, makeup. And they come with a promise that there will be measures to protect Canadian workers and businesses. Here's Michael Couture.
The LaPlante family has been in the metal roofing business for 3 generations. In that time, they've weathered a lot of storms, but this trade war feels different.
We've been focusing and trying to grow our sales in the U.S. for the last 50 years, and now to see that disappear is quite a shock.
It's why he and his son are welcoming the $7.5 billion support package from the federal government, including extra money for employment insurance.
We're going to stand up for you.
The federal government also released the nearly 700 products it's targeting in their dollar-for-dollar tariff package on American goods starting September 8th. Tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum will go from 25% to 50%. Other goods seeing levies at that rate include perfumes and makeup and honey, among other things. Seafood products, cheese, and large kitchen appliances will be hit with 25% tariffs.
We're also targeting products that will target states in the U.S. And so we're being wise and strategic to put political pressure.
There will also be economic pressures on Canadians, and government officials couldn't put a number on how these measures will impact the economy on this side of the border.
We will publish our estimate when we come to the budget 2026. But for the time being, I would say with the measures we're putting forward, this is really about supporting Canada, supporting worker communities and businesses.
To help businesses even more, Philippe Laplante would like the government to go one step further.
Our Canadian government needs to be pushing that the hospitals, army bases, whether it's a school being built across Canada, is using Canadian steel by Canadian manufacturers here in Canada.
The government is also expanding a number of federal loan and grant programs. Billions of dollars will be made available to fund shovel-ready projects for Canadian businesses. And the Canadian Chamber of Commerce says this help needs to be in place urgently. Michael Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
People are asking what these new tariffs will mean for them. One Montreal clothing store in the Mile End is bracing for what might come. Here's Sweeta Rassi.
Atelier Bay is proudly local, and its clothes are made close to home.
We cut, we sew.
But its business depends on customers beyond Montreal, including the U.S., and those sales are now taking a hit.
Online sales has been really difficult in the States because of tariffs.
Anne-Marie Laflamme says her business is losing about 10% of its sales revenue because of tariffs. And as a trade war between Canada and the U.S. intensifies, so does the uncertainty.
Our margins are way too thin to support that kind of tariff.
On Tuesday, the federal government announced new support for businesses, including additional loan opportunities. Over the weekend, Quebec Premier Christine Fréchette also unveiled financial assistance, including loans. But for businesses already carrying debt, taking on more may not be the solution.
If you've been through the last rough patch of the last several years with the pandemic, supply chain disruptions, high inflation, and now a trade war, your capacity to take on more debt is quite limited.
According to a survey conducted last year by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, many companies were not even eligible for some economic relief programs. And in total, just 1% of its members used them. Laflamme is hoping this trade war will encourage shoppers to buy local, and that's what some are already doing.
Absolutely, and the stores are making it a little bit easier now.
Like I go out of my way to see if I can choose like local brands or Canadian brands over anything else.
For others, the shift toward buying local could last beyond the trade war.
I think so. The local versus like punitive against the states, not, but local definitely. I think it's important to encourage what's coming from Quebec and from Canada.
But with tariffs eating into already thin margins, Laflamme is keeping a close eye on what comes next. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
Dolly Parton has died. She was 80 years old. And while she had publicly announced that she was ill, the news today was still unexpected. Dolly Parton was a country music icon, a singer-songwriter who starred on stage and on screen. Here's Geneviève Beauchemin.
With her outsized personality and hairdo, Dolly Parton lived her life in rhinestones.
Just because I'm blonde, don't think I'm dumb.
But down-to-earth empathy shone through in the music she brought to millions worldwide.
I don't think about my life in terms of superstar. I'm just a working girl. I always say, and it's the truth, that I am a workhorse that looks like a show horse.
Just days ago, she shared a health update with fans, saying she was dealing with issues, and that even though she was healing, she was still working. Dolly Parton often said, as she did in song, that she was a country girl's version of glamour. She rose from poverty, the fourth of 12 children, her mother making clothes from rags, to riches, attaining glittering country music stardom and crossing genres. With her soprano voice, she delivered 25 '1 country hits, many of them she had written herself. She was one of the first women stars to write much of her own material. In the 1970s, her star rose. She delivered movies like 9 to 5, TV shows, and more hits. She was a country star inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in later years focused on her charity work. Her husband, Carl Dean, died 17 months ago, a heartbreaking loss to Parton, who described their relationship as a great love story. Dolly Parton's nephew announced her death, as was her wish.
She wants to rest in a beautiful bed of plush cotton because after a life wearing heavy rhinestones, she finally deserves to be comfortable and have some rest.
Parton once said she hoped people would see her brains beneath her hair, her heart beneath her chest. But many also say it was her humanity that touched so many, and that her legacy is far more than her music. She was 80 years old. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
A man has died after he was hit by a plane on the tarmac at Trudeau Airport. The man was a member of the ground crew, and his death is now under federal investigation, as is the Quebec coroners. Laurence Brisson-Dupreux reports.
Police say the 39-year-old was struck by an aircraft backing up on the tarmac. The union that represents thousands of airport workers has identified Oscar Roballo as the employee who was killed. Roballo was taken to hospital, where he later died from his injuries. The union says Roballo had been working at Trudeau Airport for about a year and a half.
No one ever had any issues with his workmanship or his professionalism. It's just a tragic accident that we lost a very good member.
He says that behind the terminal, airport workers face risks passengers rarely see.
There's a lot of elements. You're handling heavy equipment, big equipment. You're handling the weather, the night, the day.
The union says incidents like this are rare, but it's now working with Roballo's employer, SAMSIC, and the airport authority to establish exactly what happened. Aéroport de Montréal says it has put assistance and support measures for employees and passengers who witnessed this tragic accident. It is also cooperating with authorities investigating the death. CTV News has reached out to SAMSIC for comment, but has not heard back. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada is deploying a team to investigate, and the workplace death is also being investigated by a federal government agency. The aircraft involved was an Airbus A350 operated by French B. For the workers who remain on the tarmac, the focus now turns to answering critical questions. How did this happen? And what needs to change to make sure it doesn't happen again?
It's sad to say that it always takes an incident like this in order to put preventative measures, and that's us to secure and to enforce that in order for this never to happen to anyone working at any airport around the world.
Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil, CTV News.
Another police officer is being suspended in connection with the allegations of racist behavior in Montreal North. There are now 4 officers from Station 39. They've been suspended. Another 3 were put on desk duty, and 14 others were reassigned to other stations. The officers are accused of repeated acts of harassment and discrimination, in some cases, even cutting off people's dreadlocks and keeping them as trophies. A report today that appears to clear former Liberal leadership candidate Pablo Rodriguez. Quebec's anti-corruption squad has concluded its investigation into the allegations of questionable fundraising. And according to La Presse and confirmed by Novo Info, the investigation found that Rodriguez did nothing illegal. And for the first time since he was forced to resign, Rodriguez is telling his side of the story. Today, he sat down with Novo chief anchor Marie-Christine Bergeron.
Définitivement des gens qui voulaient mourir. Je vous dirais que ça a marché par ailleurs.
Est-ce que votre nom aujourd'hui est lavé de tout soupçon?
Ben, je vous dirais que j'ai jamais rien fait.
That was Pablo Rodriguez saying people wanted to harm him and that it worked. And he maintains he never did anything wrong. He also says his professional life was ruined by the allegations. The full interview with Pablo Rodriguez is available on Crave. And Liberal leader Charles Milliard says he's still waiting for the final UPAC report, but he says that what he's seen so far should convince Quebecers to take a second look at provincial politics.
Read the article like all of us this morning, so I'm still waiting for the official conclusions of all those inquiries. But if what was mentioned is accurate, I think there's a collective, reflection on what has happened in the past year, and I'm happy to read that neither myself or the Parti libéral du Québec is involved in any way.
PQ leader Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, for his part, says he's also waiting for UPAC to officially end its investigation. But he says he believes it still appears that people who made donations were unlawfully reimbursed.
So let them do their work and let them express what they have found or not found. In any case, what we know for sure is that there was events of political financing during which people contributed a certain amount and got reimbursed right away in cash. And there's no chance that behavior is normal nor legal.
CTV News has confirmed that a prominent lawyer will run for the Quebec Liberals. Valérie Assouline came to prominence for her work in the case involving the death of the 7-year-old girl in Granby. She will be running for the Liberals in the riding of Saint-Laurent.
A person of action, and I felt there was a lot of moments where I felt like I couldn't go further than what I was doing. So that's why if the people of Saint-Laurent give me their trust, I will make sure to make changes. And I will make sure that we speak about children in Quebec.
The official announcement of her candidacy is expected tomorrow. Montreal City Council has adopted a motion to express solidarity with the Palestinian people. It is an amended version of a motion that had been presented by Projet Montréal's Nathalie Goulet.
Les conflits du monde ne s'arrêtent pas aux frontières. Montréal ne vit pas sous une cloche de verre. Ce qui est vécu ailleurs vit aussi ici, dans les cœurs, dans les familles, dans nos quartiers.
The original motion had called on the City of Montreal to suspend institutional and diplomatic ties with Israel. The motion was amended to add a focus on diversity and inclusion in Montreal and remove any references to genocide. Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada said city administrations have no mandate to take decisions on international diplomacy. Back to school often means students carrying very heavy backpacks that can lead to pain and injuries. Proper fit and weight distribution is key. Here's Christine Long.
4 friends excited about going back to school, but they're carrying a lot of baggage. Keena Burton's backpack is well over 10 pounds.
It's heavy in the bottom, but the top, I don't think there's any space in it.
Pediatric occupational therapist Sabrina Monsenego says a child's backpack should not be more than 10% of their body weight.
We don't want the child to be holding it with one strap, kind of slouching, and we don't want it to be sitting too low on the back either.
Kind of heavy, but like over here it bothers me here.
Montenegro says properly adjusted padded straps can help distribute the load of books and water bottles.
Backpack has a strap like this that kind of goes around the chest or the waist. The weight distribution will be a lot better that way too.
It can feel really heavy, especially on the first and last day of school, because you have a lot of stuff and you're bringing everything home.
Posture is important to avoid neck, shoulder, or upper back pain.
Backpacks with a lot of compartments so that you can easily place the books so that they're well aligned.
Sometimes when it's like a really hot day and I come back from school and like my school stuff is all in here, like it's kind of like, it's like uncomfortable.
Pain or discomfort from improperly carried backpacks can lead to more challenges in the classroom.
Slouching at your desk, not being able to efficiently copy from the board, leaning their chin on their hand while they're writing.
A little planning can make back to school less of a pain in the neck. Christine Long, CTV News.
And coming up, the Canadian counter-tariffs.
Is going to be, without using a bad term, a horror show.
People are being warned prices for many household goods could be going up. And retail theft getting more common and more violent. Donald Trump is not happy with Canada. He's been musing about renaming Lake Ontario Lake America and repeating his mantra that Canada is ripping off Americans. Abigail Beeman has the American response.
Among a morning barrage of anti-Canadian posts, we were labeled the most difficult and unreasonable. President Trump says the U.S. is seriously considering renaming Lake Ontario to Lake America because we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer, followed by this map and another in Lego from the White House.
We'll always call it Lake Ontario. Great Lakes. Period.
Canada's industry minister firm on that, and firm in response to Trump's message that he loves French Canadians.
The question is not about love. The question is about sovereignty.
The president said he would never interfere with Canadians speaking French, a lie made up by a weak and ineffective prime minister for political support.
While all these shenanigans are happening, we'll just be smart and we'll be strategic and we'll fight back.
But a shift in tone Tuesday from Ontario's premier.
Doug, you are a lot more mellow right now. I mean, yesterday you were telling the president to kiss your tush.
Doug Ford took to American airwaves once again, mellow and encouraging.
It got a little heated back and forth over the last day, but I really want to just get a deal signed. It's time to get back to the table and let's negotiate a fair deal. I'd rather make a great deal.
I think it's going to have a significant impact.
While this trade expert, who was once assistant chief negotiator in the United States Trade Representative's office, says Canada's counter-tariffs will hit Americans, especially in states critical to Trump in the upcoming midterms.
Carpets are being made a lot in Georgia, in the state of Georgia. Georgia is a very big state that the Republicans are trying to win back that Senate seat. There's some on Tennessee, another critical state. There's some on products being made in Texas. So I think that there was some strategic thought put into not only what the products are, but where their production is located.
While there hasn't been much public presidential pushback from Republicans, sources tell us behind the scenes it's a slightly different story, especially in those states worried about midterms, with lawmakers listening more closely to constituents hurt by tariffs. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Washington.
Appliances and electronics from the U.S. will be hard hit by the Canadian counter-tariffs, and Canadians are being encouraged to buy Canadian. Here's Heather Wright.
Among the products soon to be hit with a 50% reciprocal tariff are many that are sold here at Brentview Electronics.
It is going to be, without using a bad term, a horror show for us going forward while everybody is up in the air on what's happening today, tomorrow, next week.
The family business sells TVs and speakers and does wiring and installations.
Sonos is our bread and butter. It is the app.
Steve DeWeerd says with costs up in general, another spike will likely keep many would-be customers on the sidelines.
If there is a 50% cost on wire that we put in new construction houses or renovations, it's going to bring the whole budget up and might put the average consumer on a holding pattern.
More than 800 different products were included in a list released by Ottawa, from fish to appliances to carpets. U.S.-made cosmetics will also be tariffed, including nail polish. Stella Pham just opened this nail salon in Toronto and hopes she won't have to raise prices for her customers.
We will make the best way to make this client feel happy about it, and we feel happy about it too.
Also on the list, vital materials for infrastructure, including fiber optic cables, network cables, and building materials.
Whether people are building homes or developers are building homes, or whether they're looking to build data centers or universities, I think those things are going to be changing the way that we look at expenses in a big way.
Many businesses say they are trying to prepare as much as possible, but in this environment full of uncertainty, it is hard to predict how this situation might unfold. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Retail thefts in Halifax are becoming increasingly aggressive and violent. In one case, a man robbed a Costco on a busy Friday night. Vanessa Wright has details.
Crimes like this one are becoming more common, even with an audience.
To go all the way inside a Costco where there's literally hundreds of people walking around and start smashing in front of hundreds of people in a Costco where the exits are, guarded, is incredibly brazen. It shows you that thieves have become just much more aggressive.
The video taken by a Costco shopper last Friday night is what Halifax police are reviewing in their investigation.
Staff reported that a man entered the store, proceeded to the jewelry display case, smashed it open with a hammer, and then fled on foot with a quantity of jewelry.
Police didn't provide details on how much worth of it he took, but it's a case they've seen before, and according to retail analyst Bruce Winder, one they'll likely see again.
We really need to close the loop on this. It's been going on a long time now, and certainly there must be some solutions to this. Hopefully politicians have the political appetite to get a bit more aggressive on bail reform, on sentencing.
Bruce Winder says these types of crimes have far-reaching impacts, affecting not only the retailer, but the consumer too.
If this keeps happening, retailers have to increase prices to us. And we're already in an inflationary environment, and we could be in a bigger inflationary environment with any counter-tariffs that the Prime Minister puts in place in September. So it's just another reason to try to clamp down on this.
CTV News reached out to Costco for comment but did not hear back. Though two people seemingly tried to stop the man, police say in cases like these, don't get involved.
We would always advise to not try to intervene, obviously for safety reasons.
As they race to put a stop to a problem that seems to have taken off. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Halifax.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement set a new record for arrests last night. They arrested nearly 50,000 people in July. Their former high-profile operations in large American cities used to spark public outcry. The recent arrests have garnered less attention. There are long lines outside gas stations in Iran as the U.S. tightens its blockade and threatens more sanctions. In Tehran, some people are waiting up to 2 hours or more to fill up their tanks. And there's been no sign of Iran's leadership that they will be bowing to the sanctions. Astronauts at the International Space Station were out spacewalking today. They were installing a high-speed space-to-ground antenna.
You've got a good camera view of you, so you'll keep moving inboard and go down the cedar rail. Reminder, the cedar rail is at mile marker 7200, and you're going.
The antenna will send high-speed data between the International Space Station and NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston. The data will include high-resolution images, planetary mapping, and atmospheric measurements. And coming up, what were they thinking?
We need to hold larger corporations accountable.
Questions about a very controversial Halloween costume. And why do so many people have trouble caring about climate change? There are wildfires, extreme weather, signs of climate change are all around us. So why is it that so many people just don't seem to care? Is it possible that it has something to do with how our brains work? Jonathan Jarry is with the McGill Office for Science and Society. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
So, Jonathan, obviously there's a lot of reasons why people don't seem to care about climate change, but one thing is that our brains are built to care about what's happening right now.
Yeah, so there are lots of reasons. So climate change is a big, shapeless problem that we can't clearly see. People who don't like government regulations tend to minimize the size of the issue. Some people have bought into the propaganda from the oil industry. And some people may look apathetic because they are mourning in advance for something that they feel powerless to stop. But you're right, and the human brain did not evolve to deal with something 20, 50 years in the future. Our instincts are to find food today, and climate change, unfortunately, registers in the brain as a tomorrow problem.
And then there's something called the shifting baseline syndrome.
This goes back to a 1995 essay that is really easy to understand. So the author writes about fish and the people who fish for fish. And he writes that when a generation of fishers retires, sure, they've seen that the number of fish in the lake has gone down since the time they started in their business. But the new generation does not know that and has not experienced that. So when they come in, as the older fishers retire, this lower number is normal. It's their baseline. One reporter put it very well and said that no generation experiences the totality of the loss. So we watch our forests burn and our skies turn orange, and it's new to us, but to children born today, this will be their baseline.
We also rationalize, Jonathan. We justify decisions we make. I guess we just want things to be normal, right?
Absolutely, and I saw this very clearly in the first few years of the COVID pandemic. As soon as people started to feel safe enough, every safety precaution was thrown out the window so that we could feel normal again. I mean, the virus has not gone away. It's still killing and disabling people, but we choose to ignore it so that our lives look normal, and that carries over to climate change.
And then, Jonathan, there are people who are just apathetic.
Right, so why are some people, not all, but some people apathetic toward climate change? Because they're just apathetic people. So this has been shown in studies, and they're not psychopaths, but when you show these people photos of either people suffering or of a box of donuts or something indulgent, their response is closer to meh. So obviously, if you go through life with a limited range of emotional responses, climate anxiety will not stick to you.
But Jonathan, it is one thing to look at why people don't care, but what can we do about it?
Different people will respond to different ways of talking about climate change. And unfortunately for many, they will need to film the consequences of it on their phone for it to really sink in. Now, one study that does make me optimistic, it provided some evidence that, instead of showing graphs of the planet gradually warming, showing if instead a lake froze or did not freeze in the winter over time, and that led to more people noticing the change. So they can see one line trailing off and the other one picking up in intensity over time. So we can better present the data that we do have. That likely will not be enough. And unfortunately, what will motivate a lot of us to act and to vote accordingly will be to witness, firsthand the consequences of climate change. It's a bit late, but it's not too late in order to mitigate some of the harm and to adapt to the harm that we cannot prevent.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me.
Weather brought to you by Gratianscap's second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
Well, before we get into the local forecast, I'd like to head overseas to talk about a tornado that impacted a village in the south of France called Poma. It is near Toulouse. So this was yesterday, and that tornado, which is quite dramatic, we can see on our screens right now, damaged 300 homes and sent a bunch of people to hospitals. So we're talking 24 people were rescued. And this is the same tornado that actually caused a bike race in Spain to come to a halt. Incredible footage there. I hope everybody is okay. Now, if we head back here at home, Montreal is currently dealing with a 40% chance of showers now. That is going to wrap up around 8 p.m. Let's put our futurecast into motion and see what else we're dealing with over the next 24 hours. So we can see on our screen right now a very minor spotty system, and that could be why Environment and Climate Change Canada is telling us that there is still a 40% chance. But when we put this forward, we can see that we're seeing clearing after midnight of our clouds. So into the early morning hours, we are calling for a mix of sun and clouds, and that's pretty much what we're dealing with throughout the day. We could see some peaks of sunshine, more sunshine throughout the day. Something to look forward to after a few days where we've been dealing with the risk of rain and thunderstorms. Now into the evening hours, we see a few clouds move in, and that is ahead of a system that we can see on our screen yet again that's going to impact Montreal Thursday morning as early as 8 a.m. So this is what is bringing the risk of showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. So it is another day where I'm encouraging people to not put away their raincoat or their umbrella come Thursday, because you will definitely be needing it. In terms of our overnight, well, we have comfortable sleeping conditions, a low of 15 degrees. We'll see those clouds clear out. We start our day off at 17 with a mix of sun and clouds, hitting a daytime high of 26. The humidex is a mild factor tomorrow. It will feel like 30 degrees. Looking at our longer range, we can see that on Thursday we're expecting around 10 millimeters of rain with that risk of thunderstorms, and our high will be 27, but it'll feel like 33. 21 on Friday, feeling like 26 with a mix of sun and clouds. Saturday is looking picture perfect with mostly sunny skies, a high of 23. Sunday we're calling for a mix of sun and clouds. We could see a few showers in the evening. Monday and Tuesday though, that's where we're going to see a little bit more rain. 6 millimeters on Monday, another 8 on Tuesday with a high of 24, and that humidity will make it feel like 30.
A man in Ontario is walking the streets, pushing an empty wheelchair. He's trying to call attention to his daughter's need for spinal surgery. It's not covered by the province's health care insurance. Jeff Pickle has a story.
For the last 2 weeks, Joe Gaswaldi of London has done a lot of walking.
Getting my steps in.
Hey, no kidding. Walking and waving and talking.
Love it, love it, love it. We appreciate you guys.
On Sunday in Paris, Joe was speaking to anyone he can about his daughter Sydney and her heartbreaking story.
So Sydney was 24 years old and graduated from McMaster University, and had just started her own business, and at the age of 24 was rear-ended in a collision and suffered severe catastrophic neck injury.
Since the crash, Sydney's had complications, leaving her neck and her life in a vulnerable position.
The net result is that Sydney is unable to walk, unable to bathe, unable to feed herself, and requires our constant attention 24/7.
According to Gaswaldi, the quest to get the surgery done in Ontario has been frustrating.
And we were rejected by 10 neurosurgeons in London, Ontario, and the GTA. And we were left with no treatment options.
The Gaswaldis found a doctor in New York who can do the surgery, but at the cost of over $500,000 in out-of-pocket expenses.
Dozens of Canadians who have had the cranial cervical fusion and restored functionality back to people like Sydney.
Now, Joe, along with his wife Kim as spotter, are spending their weekends walking to Queen's Park.
The empty wheelchair represents everything that has been taken from her, and as her father, I will take the torch up and fight on her behalf.
Hoping to fundraise the money needed for their daughter and create the policy changes needed for others in the future. Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Paris.
Australia is taking action against music created by AI. The plan is to ban music from the official charts and industry awards.
When you call my name, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I wanna take you there.
The recording industry in Australia says the technology is threatening artists' livelihoods. For example, it says an AI version of Madonna's hit Like a Prayer spent 16 weeks on the charts. U.S. retail giant Target has pulled a Halloween costume. It follows criticism across social media that it resembled a racist caricature. Sophie Flay explains.
Target is apologizing and removing a children's Halloween costume after it was widely criticized as racist. The images of the costume are being compared to racist caricatures, evoking blackface. Target now acknowledges the costume should have never been for sale, saying, "As a company, we got this wrong, and we are deeply sorry. We know this is especially hurtful for our Black guests, team members, and partners. Removing the costume is an important first step, and we are looking closely at how this happened."
We're cutting up cars today.
It comes 1 year after the company's controversial move to roll back its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, which sparked protests and boycotts by shoppers.
We need to hold larger corporations accountable.
One Minneapolis area business leader claims this new costume controversy is an indirect result of Target's DEI decision last year, saying, "You rolled back diversity, so who's in the room now to say, hey, this is wrong?" One commenter on social media saying, "The amount of people this costume had to go through to get approved says a lot. What year is it?" Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
And coming up, exercising the brain.
Use it or lose it. It's very much true for the brain.
There are 5 simple things we can do every day. And sometimes a deal from a third-party website isn't really a deal.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratian-Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
It's estimated that within the next 4 years, nearly 1 million people in Canada will be living with dementia. Mandy Gator has 5 daily habits to keep our brains healthy.
For years, Linda Barber helped her mother care for her father and his cognitive decline.
He hid it from us for a long time.
After his death, Barber says genetic testing showed she too was at high risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, and her concern then turned to her own child.
I want to be around and cognitive for my son.
That's how Barber met Dr. Douglas Shari, a neurologist with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. She learned 5 daily habits that can protect the brain and slow the progression of cognitive decline, regardless of age or family history.
Use it or lose it. It's very much true for the brain.
First, Shari says to get physical exercise. It's not only good for your heart and muscles, but moving your body boosts your brain. Next, do mental exercises. Keep your brain stimulated. Shari says to do that through puzzles and games and by staying social. Get off your phone and away from the television and engage in conversation. Third, maintain good nutrition. He recommends a Mediterranean diet with lots of fruits and vegetables and limiting red meats and processed sugars. Fourth, prioritize quality sleep. Keep bedtime routines and treat conditions like sleep apnea and high blood pressure to ensure you're getting those good Z's. And finally, reduce stress levels. That can include managing mental health conditions like depression and anxiety.
If I can keep my cognitive going, then I'm going to be able to still have an enriched life.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
There are more disturbing findings about brain injuries in sports. A study finds at least 1 in 4 NFL players who died between 2016 and 2021 had the brain disease known as CTE. The study in the British Medical Journal looked at almost 890 players who played in at least one NFL game and died during that 6-year period. At least 25% of them had CTE. The NF Players Association says the study is a sobering reminder that football can have lasting health consequences.
Business news brought to you by Au Vieux de Louf. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
Now, here are some of the day's closing financial numbers. In Toronto, the TSX closed up 243 points to 36,957. In New York, the Dow was up 160 points to 53,577. The S&P 500 index finished the day 24 points higher to close at 7,677. And the Nasdaq was up 171 points to 26,151. And the Canadian dollar is trading slightly higher right now at 72.29 cents US. There are good deals to be had by booking a flight, hotel room, or rental car through a third-party website. But if there's a cancellation, refunds can be a problem. Here's Pat Foran.
Very disappointed, but
On the other hand, safety comes first.
Vivian of Mississauga asked we only use her first name. She flew to Poland in March to meet her husband, and they planned an anniversary trip. First to Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, and then on to the Maldives Islands in the Indian Ocean. They were on the plane ready to take off when the conflict in the Middle East caused the airline to cancel their flight.
Unfortunately, the war broke out and we stuck on the plane and the flight got canceled because the airspace was closed in Abu Dhabi.
The 2 round-trip tickets cost almost $10,000. When Vivian contacted the airline, Etihad Airways, she was told she was entitled to a full refund. But because she booked through Expedia, the money would have to be refunded to the booking website first. Etihad Airways issued the refund of almost $10,000 to Expedia, and Vivian was told she would get her money back in 4 to 8 weeks. But she never did.
We expect a refund by April. And then we call in April and never happened. They said another 4 to 8 weeks.
Months passed, and despite promises, the refund never showed up. Vivian became concerned she might never get it.
Everybody said the same thing, but I just don't see the money back. I don't see my money.
When CTV News reached out to Expedia on Vivian's behalf, a spokesperson said, upon investigation, her refund request was submitted incorrectly to the airline. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this caused. Expedia then refunded the $9,934 right away, which was great news for her. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Montreal's Théâtre Jean Duceppe has received $1.2 million in funding from Ottawa.
From laughter to tears and through moments of shared silence, theatre has the power to bring us together and immerse us for a few hours, a few minutes in a story that allows us to see the world differently. And these moments are precious, and they're moments when we experience our culture together. And for over 50 years, Duceppe has been creating these kinds of moments.
The money is in addition to the $4.5 million from Quebec and from private fundraising. There are plans to modernize the theatre, which was founded in 1973. The theatre is named for actor Jean Duceppe. He was the father of Bloc leader Gilles Duceppe. A lot of people were shocked to hear about the death of Dolly Parton, and Kelly, she had a lot of fans here in Montreal as well.
That's right, including here in our newsroom, I have to say. She's known as a country music star, but she really transcended the genre, including with her songwriting. Now, she did visit Montreal, although it was rare, once early in her career in 1972, then a bigger show at the Montreal Forum in 1986, where she performed alongside Kenny Rogers. Now, it wasn't just music. She was a philanthropist and starred in movies, including my favorite musical. So tonight we'll be talking more about her impact, both in the entertainment world and as a cultural icon. And I'd be remiss to not mention one of her most famous quotes before we go. But Sumi, when asked about her look, she said, "It costs a lot of money to look this cheap."
I love that. Okay, thank you very much, Kelly.
Thanks.
And when we come back, a world record holder. Yeah! There's nothing like skateboarding to keep you young.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
A woman from California has skateboarded her way into the history books. Here's Danny New.
Look out, 66-year-old Judy Oyama is once again skating into history.
I actually feel like I'm skating more this last 2 years than I've skated forever.
As Guinness World Records 2027 drops in the U.S. today, this legendary speedster is being celebrated as the world's oldest female competitive skateboarder after extending a record she already held by 2 more years.
I remember seeing it at the library, and I'm very stoked. Right there.
get an attitude. Pop it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot.
This California native has been paving the way on the pavement for more than half a century. After, one day when she was 13, her brother made a skateboard in woodshop class and brought it home.
We tried it on the driveway, and I just kept skating, and we bought a board together. I never stopped.
Not soon after, in the 1970s and 80s, Judy emerged as a skateboarding pioneer. Not only was she inducted into the Skateboarding Hall of Fame in 2018, but a helmet she wore in 1976 has even been archived by the Smithsonian.
You gotta just go for it.
And obviously, she has not stopped since, even with the risk of potential injury.
How are you able to conquer that fear on four wheels?
Well, one, I don't think about falling.
But one thing that has kept Judy from retiring, she says, has really been finding a protege. This is 17-year-old Leola Kahaku, whom Judy has been mentoring for 2 years now. Last year at the International Slalom Skateboarding World Championships in Brazil, Judy placed 4th, and Leola took the gold at 1st overall. Judy said that moment made her year.
It's just been an amazing opportunity to watch someone like blossom.
And now, thanks in large part to that race, Judy and Leola have qualified for the World Skate Games in Paraguay this October, which will once again break and extend Judy's record some more. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
It's going to be a nice night.
Yeah, that's right, Mitsumi. So we were under a 40% chance of some showers. It's going to be dropping in the next hour or so. And once again, when I looked at my futurecast, it looked like barely a drizzle. So after that, we are dealing with some clearing of the clouds, and we'll see nice skies overnight. 15 degrees, a comfortable sleeping temperature overnight. We wake up to a mix of sun and clouds. 17 degrees will be the early morning temperature. We will hit a daytime high of 26. Feeling like 30, and overall it'll be pleasant. We'll see peaks of sunshine throughout the afternoon, and we're getting close to the end of August, so definitely make the most of it and enjoy.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Good night.